Hi everyone, Stepan here. Today I'm going to show you the round 5 game from Arco. A game that I'm very unhappy with. I mean, this probably is the worst game I played at the tournament, and probably is one of the worst games I played in a long while. I just didn't do anything, got destroyed, and well, sorry for spoiling the result, but this should be interesting in the sense that you get to see how strong players destroy weak players. My opponent is a 2178 rated FIDE master, so he's not a 2300 FIDE master anymore, but he's still a very strong player, which his results at the tournament proved. And I have to say, we got an opening I did not expect at all. We played the Prins Sicilian, which I'm familiar with, and that's fine, I played it a lot of times, but I was preparing something very aggressive and very specific for my opponent, which, I'm not going to say what it is, because I never got to play it, so I'll keep it a secret, but I was expecting something completely different, so I was really thrown off guard. I went e4, he went c5, which was one of the options, but, well, there wasn't a high probability he was going to play the Sicilian, but I knew it was an option. But after knight f3, I really didn't expect d6. So now I had to decide what to do. After knight takes d4, knight f6, you know that I play Zagreb, I play the Adams attack, I play the Prins Sicilian, and I do several different things. I'd even been preparing some other lines. But in this game, since I was preparing a very aggressive response to his usual defenses with black, I wanted to keep things aggressive, and I wanted to have an aggressive game. Now against the Prins Sicilian, there are several ways to try and punish white for playing f3, and my opponent chose what I think is the most direct one, which should always give black a tiny advantage with absolutely correct play. So e5, knight b3, d5. If you don't know this, you should watch my video on the Prins Sicilian. Bishop g5, d4, c3, you want to undermine the center. Knight c6, bishop b5, queen b6. Okay, this is sort of the starting position of the variation. We played these moves quickly, although I did faster than him. And in this position you have to take the knight. So after bishop takes, now you're at a crossroads. Taking the pawn on d4 is the only move, basically. I don't think anything else is playable. And you win a pawn for the moment, but black has a lot of compensation. After c takes d, black has a couple of options. Again, my opponent chose the trickiest one. You can play h6 first, but okay, he chose the most direct, which is the best move, and that's bishop to a6. And I had this position in, I'm gonna say 3 tournament games, although it may have been 2, it may have been 4. I'm not really sure. And I've always played d5 or knight c3. Both are very risky. And knight c3 I never played when I was prepared for it. So I'll show you the best move, what I think is the best move, and the easiest move to play. But it's not as aggressive. I think it's the easiest way to play this position is with knight a3. And the idea is you want to go rook c1 and you want to go knight c4. You basically want to be able to castle and block the bishop on f1. So for example, rook to d8, rook to c1, e takes d4, knight c4, knight c4, bishop b4, and now you simply play king to f2. If they ever push d3, then bishop e3. If they don't, then you go rook f1 and king to g1. Okay, so that's so probably bishop c4 should be played here, and white should be slightly better in this position, but there is no more attack, and also well, it's not aggressive, and also these two pawns can be quite dangerous, which once this bishop moves away, makes room for the pawn. I wouldn't enjoy playing this against a much stronger player. Let me put it like that. Okay, then if you go d5 and black makes a mistake, then amazing. If they don't make a mistake, then you're getting cut to pieces with these two bishops. Obviously the queen and the rook coming in, and maybe knight e4, maybe knight g4, maybe knight h5. One of the biggest issues in this position, in these positions, is getting mated on e2. So whenever you move your queen or your bishop or both, you just queen e3 and bad stuff happening. Okay, so those are the two options. The third option, which I chose, is what I usually played, and that's knight to c3. And now there's a line I've been studying maybe 6 or 7 months ago. I was looking at it because I really have debated with myself whether I should just stop playing the Prins Sicilian altogether, which may have been a good idea. And I was looking at a line which I messed up and couldn't remember properly during the game. I'll show you the correct line first. So my opponent played rook d8, which I'd expected. And now I need to play king f2, and once they take on d4, I need to play knight a4. And the point is that after queen b5, I go e5. And if queen takes pawn, then rook e1. If queen takes knight, then pawn takes knight. Fine. For some reason, I thought, okay, is this the point where I have to play d5? And I just, okay. So usually, I think I tried queen d2 in this position before, and then queen f2 just to block the diagonal. I think I tried knight e2 in some positions to try and castle. I tried many things, but in this game I played d5, and this is just it's just a bad move. I'll show you what I thought would happen, which actually did happen partially, and I'll show you what he should have played. So after d5, this position is, believe it or not, -5, and black is just should be winning immediately. It wasn't that clear to me why. It wasn't that clear to my opponent either, because he allowed me to equalize. So okay, cd5 is correct, and ed5. And now if I knew that he just couldn't take the pawn. If rook takes, then knight takes. If knight takes, then I take the rook. So he has to play h6. And I saw h6 and I thought, okay, that's not too bad. Maybe I can just go get to play bishop to d2. Of course, I cannot play bishop h4 because queen e3. So after this and taking on d5, for some reason I thought I was okay. I'm not okay. This is just a bad position. It's a dreadful position. I was thinking, okay, queen takes, and then maybe queen c2, maybe castles queenside. I'm just busted. In the game, though, my opponent took the pawn, and now I was really happy. The point of this whole d5 idea, which doesn't work, is to play queen d2 here. And now I have a simple threat of castling queenside, and I have another threat of taking the rook. And what can black do here? h6 doesn't work, I just take on d8. If knight takes c3, then bishop takes d8. The queen is still covering e3, there are no problems on e2. If bishop to b4, then bishop to d8. Bishop takes d8. Maybe the critical variation is pawn to f6, but it doesn't work because just knight d5. And if rook d5, obviously rook d5. If queen c6, which is the trickiest move, this I calculated correctly. d5 doesn't work, but in the event of him playing, allowing queen to d2, I did calculate correctly. I can just go rook d1 here, and he probably takes on g5, and I play knight a5. And my knight is defended twice. The b4 square is undefended for the moment, so he cannot win the queen, and it's also defended by my knight. I should be able to get in king f2, queen e3, and rook e1. And if I manage to do that, I have a better pawn structure. My king is relatively safe. Okay, and the final option, which he did end up going for, is knight to f6. But the problem with this is that I get to play queen e3, and this basically allows a queen trade. Because if he doesn't do anything, I could take on e5, I could maybe trade the knight off, take on a7. It's just, he doesn't have a good retreat square for the queen, basically. Okay, because if, for example, queen d6, then I just go rook d1. So he allowed the queen trade, bishop to b4. And, okay, so the sensible thing here is to accept that you're slightly worse, that you managed to survive a lost opening, which I wasn't aware of. I thought I was worse. I didn't know I was completely losing. And just trade queens. This should give him a slightly better position because of the bishop pair. But my king being in the center isn't a big deal anymore. He does have an isolated pawn on a7, which, if he wants to slightly ruin my pawn structure, he would have to give up his bishop pair. I have the opportunity to double his pawns on f6 as well. So, for example, if I want to take drastic measures, I could do this, which is bad, but I'm just saying I could simplify further. I would probably play king f2 and he castles. And this should be slightly better for black. I mean, obviously the bishop pair is much stronger than my knights. But if I can activate my rooks in the center, which I can do, with, for example, rook d1 or rook c1, and then, for example, like this, here, and I don't know what he does, but I get my other rook to d1. Then I should be okay. But I thought, okay, you wanted to play aggressively, so try to find something aggressive. And after messing up the opening, I just missed a resource of his and again gave him a winning position in one move. I don't really know how much time I spent. I don't think it was long. I think it was a few minutes. And I took on e5. He has to play king f8. Then that's fine. And I have to go bishop to e3. Now, whatever he does, I thought, ooh, this is a great position. If he plays rook e8, then it's simple. I take the rook and then take the queen. If he moves the queen away, I play king f2. What else can he do? I don't know what else he can do. But basically I thought, okay, this is just amazing, because if he moves the queen away, I can play king f2 and then play bishop c5, and his king is now all of a sudden as bad as mine is. But I just missed rook d5. And after rook d5, I should resign. There's no other way to put it. If I take the rook, he takes the bishop with check first, then takes the queen. If I take the queen, he takes my queen with check, and if I go back bishop e3, then rook e3 check. So basically I just lose a piece. I have to play queen f4. There is no other move. I need to defend my bishop. And queen b5. And this is it. I didn't resign. I played on because there could always be some tricks, but there is nothing here. So the problem is I either get mated, I lose a piece, or I lose the queen. And here's why. I can get mated on e2. And after king to f2, if I play king f2 and then queen e2 and king g3, then I lose my queen to knight h5. If king g3 and this bishop isn't traded off, then there is bishop to d6. And I have to do something about that. So I can try knight c1, which defends, but then just knight h5, and black should be much better. I would have much rather given up a piece than went into that, which I was aware of during the game. I saw knight c1, but it's just a lost position. So I played king f2, which I thought was the lesser evil. And after bishop takes c3, obviously I cannot take the bishop. It doesn't work. Let me show you why, by the way. If I take, then here, and if king g3, then knight h5. Excuse me. And if king g1, then here. And again, if king g3, knight h5, if king g1, now queen f1 is made. So after bishop c3, my idea was to go bishop c5 check, which doesn't work. After bishop c5, all he has to do is rook c5. Again, I cannot take the rook. The same reason as before. I just get destroyed. So I took the bishop, and unfortunately for you guys, I'm going to show you the rest of the game. It's just... this probably was bad etiquette on my part. Even though I tried looking for tricks and I really was playing because I thought tricks were possible, maybe this was a bit too much. But I still did it. Okay, queen e2, king g1. Now there is no rook d1, so I don't have to lose my queen. Queen e5, he wants to trade queens, queen d2. Basically, he defended everything. He got his king to safety. He tried to trade pieces. I tried declining as much as possible. He finally connected his rooks. Then I thought, okay, maybe I could get some tricks on f7. Maybe some tricks with knight e6. So what if I allow him to take this pawn? Let's allow him to take that pawn, or if possible, play f5. So queen h4, queen f6, queen g4, h5, queen d7, let him take the pawn, even though it's with check. Queen f2, attacks my queen, prevents knight e6 check, prevents queen takes b7. Yeah, he just prevents everything. Knight e6 anyway, takes on b7. Now what I would like to do is play rook f1 and get some tricks in on f7, but it's not going to work. He repeated because this is now move 42, so he wanted to play the last move before the time control. I don't think he was low on time, it was just probably didn't know what to do straight away. Okay, rook d8, rook f1, finally there's a possibility of some tricks, but not really. I pinned the rook. And also I had to prevent rook d2, otherwise I get mated. Queen e3, queen e5, king g1, queen d4, rook f2, and here I finally resigned. Now there are no more tricks. I mean, there were no tricks for the last 25 moves, but I still wanted to play until it was absolutely over. What do you say about a game like this? That it's one of those I'm ashamed to show. I'm sorry, but I'm going to be showing you definitely more bad games in the future. Hopefully not as bad as this one. It's really painful to do this, to show games like this, but yeah, okay, that's the point. No point in showing you just the good games. Thank you for watching, guys. See you tomorrow with a definitely better game. Stay tuned for more chess. Bye bye.